In war and class, these life wants joined the all-life, wrestlings of a divided unity, inflicting mutual grief and happiness in ignorance of the self forever one. Of course, here the word self is capitalized, and it is obviously the divine self, the one, our self-existent being. So we see that these beings from this kingdom of the little life, they do war with us, and they clasp the life wants, and the life wants that we also clasp. Possessions, food, homes, friendships, etc. And they are therefore wrestlings of a divided unity. But because they are wrestlings of a divided unity, they inflict mutual grief and happiness in ignorance of the self forever one. Well, we'll go on. Arming its creatures with delight and hope, a half-awakened nescience struggled there to know by sight and touch the outside of things. Instinct was formed. In memory's crowded sleep, the past lived on, as in a bottomless sea, inverting into half-thought the quickened sense. She felt around for truth with fumbling hands, arming its creatures with delight and hope. A half-awakened nescience struggled there to know by sight and touch the outside of things. Instinct was formed. In memory's crowded sleep, the past lived on as in a bottomless sea, inverting into half-thought the quickened sense. She felt around for truth with fumbling hands, clutched to her the little she could reach and seize, and put aside in her subconscious cave. So we see here this plane of existence. So this half-awakened nescience, this not knowing, struggled there in this plane of existence to know by sight and touch simply the outside of things, which has been empirical science's way for centuries. Only the five senses. But now he says that instinct was formed. In memory's crowded sleep, the past lived on, as in a bottomless sea. Then he says, inverting into half-thought the quickened sense. She felt around for truth with fumbling hands, clutched to her the little she could reach and seize, and put aside in her subconscious cave. Well, now he's going to lead us into the reason why she is doing this. So must the dim being grow in light and force, and rise to his higher destiny at last. Look up to God and round at the universe, and learn by failure, and progress by fall, and battle with environment and doom. By suffering, discover his deep soul, and by possession, grow to his own vast. Well, lot to think about here, because isn't that what we are doing for the most part in life? Looking up to God, attempting to rise to a higher destiny, growing slowly this dim being of ours in light and force, learning by failure, progressing by fall, battling with the environment and doom, and even by suffering, discover our deep soul, and by possession, grow to his own vasts. Well, I would say that this is clearly the mass of humanity, and it equates with this kingdom of the little life. So now this nescience that's wanting to grow stops halfway. Halfway, she stopped and found her path no more. Still, nothing was achieved but to begin. Yet finished seemed the circle of her force. So she's not able to get out of this. Well, it's a circle of her own force. And now we have 4 lines beginning with the word only. So it's extremely important that we understand these 4 lines. Only she had beaten out sparks of ignorance. Only the life could think, and not the mind. Only the sense could feel, and not the soul. Only was lit some heat of the flame of life, some joy to be, some rapturous leaps of sense. Doesn't it all seem like this lower gradation of our consciousness from body, life, and mind? It sounds to me very, very much just about this first quatrain of our existence.
So she is nescience, yes?
Yes, yes. And nothing's achieved, but everything sort of begins. And yet the circle of her force seems to be finished, but it's really not. But all that she was able to do was to beat out sparks of ignorance. Only the life could think and not the mind. So there's no mind here as we know mind. Only the sense could feel, but the soul couldn't feel. So it is just empirical, sensual, the lowest form of experience.
Because this is the point where Sri Aurobindo explains the most difficult thing to understand in the secret of the Veda, that all the inspirations, all the light what we receive from grace is actually captured by the subconscious, in the subconscious cave he is using here, and put it in her.
Is it the robbers of the deep?
Yes. And why they are there, it is so difficult to understand. He speaks about panis, about the karmendrias, about senses of action, that they are hijacking the light and store them in the subconscious cave. And the whole secret of the Veda is that we invite higher forces which will break that cave and release those treasures which were stolen over a long period of evolutionary time. And now here he explains this, that nescience is actually acting on its own. It tries to get out of that, to go to the upper levels, and it grabs everything which is coming to it, which it can reach to every light, and pulls it down. And because of that, we have this phenomenon that we
Yes.
cannot be active and perceptive at the same time. When we are becoming active, the light is stolen and put into the subconscious cave. When we become perceptive, we become inactive. We close our eyes, we stop thinking, because only then we can reach to the deeper light. It's actually a very wonderful answer. I really never thought of that nescience acts on its own and
Oh, yes, yes.
and
Yes.
tries to grow in consciousness.
Exactly.
Amazing. Thank you for this.
All was an impetus of half-conscious force. A spirit sprawling, drowned in dense life foam. A vague self-grasping at the shape of things. Behind all moved, seeking for vessels to hold, a first raw vintage of the grapes of God. On earth's mud, a spilth of the supernal bliss, intoxicating the stupefied soul and mind, a heady wine of rapture, dark and crude, dim, uncast yet into spiritual form, obscure inhabitant of the world's blind core, an unborn Godhead's will, a mute desire. So I think this goes along with all of the things that you just mentioned, Vladimir.
Mm.
This is what is happening, this attempt at a dense life foam by the spirit that's sprawling down in this dense life, and this vague grasping at the shape of things, and we see that everything was an impetus of half-conscious force. And note that he capitalizes force here, used in its highest sense. What are they seeking for? They want vessels, some vessel to hold this first raw vintage of the grapes of God. Even on earth's mud, they want a spilth of the supernal bliss, intoxicating the stupefied soul and mind, a heady wine of rapture, dark and crude, dim, uncast yet into spiritual form, obscure inhabitant of the world's blind core, an unborn Godhead's will, a mute desire. So there is this desire for progress, for growth, for evolution, but it's an unborn Godhead's will. It's a mute desire, a desire that is not voicing its aspiration. So now we're going to come after this little break, and I always recommend that everyone rest just a few moments before they begin the next section, when Sri Aurobindo gives us a clear break. But now he's going to tell us something much more positive. A third creation now revealed its face. A mold of body's early mind was made. A glint of light kindled the obscure world force. It dowered a driven world with the seeing idea and armed the act with thought's dynamic point. A small thinking being watched the works of time. So we're seeing this creation come into realization. It's actually revealing its own face. and we have this mold of the body's early mind being made. We have this glint, it's just a touch of light that has kindled the obscure world force. It dowered a driven world with the seeing idea. And here, Sri Aurobindo capitalizes idea once again. We already know that he often uses idea, real idea, gnosis for the supramental. So it is dowering, giving that force to a driven world with the seeing idea, the idea that sees, and armed the act with thought's dynamic point. Now he puts a colon after point because he wants us to understand this next line so clearly. A small thinking being watched the works of time. Yes.
So a third creation is a mental creation, basically.
Yeah, and a very early mental creation.
Yeah.
Almost a primal mind. He calls it a mold of the body's early mind. But there is that glint of light kindling the obscure world force. Their seeing idea is there also, and we have now this small thinking being watching the works of time. Can we move a little more up? Good. So, Sri Aurobindo tells us so much about the involution of the divine presence. But in his symbol, we also see the evolutionary aspect of man. So now we're going to see a difficult evolution from below, called a masked intervention from above. And this is his symbol very clearly. What is the beginning of the mother? Someone can remember it. If not, there are two powers that alone can affect the great and difficult thing, which is the aim of our endeavor. A fixed and unfailing aspiration that calls from below, and a supreme grace from above that answers. A difficult evolution from below, called a masked intervention from above. Else, this great, blind, inconscient universe could never have disclosed its hidden mind, or even in blinkers worked in beast and man, the intelligence that devised the cosmic scheme. Well, we have this masked intervention from above because no one can see the divine. Mother made that very clear, and I believe I've told you the story of Huta asking Mother if she was truly divine. Are you really the divine Mother? And the mother said to her, come tomorrow. And Huta came the next day, and she was so awestruck she could hardly speak to me. She said, from here up, she showed me who she was. So this masked intervention comes down from above. If it did not come from above, this great, blind, inconscient universe, look at these lines, great, blind, inconscient universe could never have disclosed its hidden mind, or even in blinkers worked in beast and man, the intelligence that devised the cosmic scheme. Now, you know what blinkers are. They put them on the horses when the horses are going to race. So the horse can only look straight ahead. And they say they're in blinkers. So this mass intervention is working in beast and man in blinkers. And it is the intelligence that devised the cosmic scheme. Now, we have to go back to Ashwapati now, because he's been experiencing all of this. He's been viewing all of it. And now, Sri Aurobindo says, at first, he saw a dim, obscure mind power, moving, concealed by matter and dumb life. Well, yes, but he sees it. He sees this obscure mind power, but it is concealed by matter and silent life. A current thin, it streamed in life's vast flow, tossing and drifting under a drifting sky, amid the surge and glimmering tremulous wash, released in splash of sense and feelings waves. Look at the alliteration. Oh. It's a thin current, no doubt. And it's streaming in this vast flow of life. It's even tossing and drifting under a drifting sky, amid the surge and glimmering tremulous wash. Wow. But it's released in splash of sense and in feelings waves. Is our time up? Do we have a few more minutes?
We are actually quite over time, but yeah, we can go on. Yeah, we have always a kind of a margin we can cover. So.
All right, just a few minutes more.
Sure, no problem.
In the deep midst of an insentient world, its huddled waves and foam of consciousness ran, pressing and eddying through a narrow strait, carrying experience in its crowded base. Well, there we are. We have the first signs of this mind power moving, that's sort of hidden in matter and hidden in silent life. It's a thin current, but it's streaming in this vast flow of life, and it's tossing and it's drifting under a drifting sky, amid the surge and glimmering tremulous wash. Glimmering, just a little bit of light, and this tremulous wash released in splash of sense and feelings waves. In the deep midst of an insentient world, its huddled waves and foam of consciousness ran, pressing and eddying through a narrow strait, carrying experience in its crowded pace. We'll find out a lot more next week. Thank you all.
Thank you, Narad.
It's good to be back with you again. Namaste.
So
Namaste.
nice. Thank you.